Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Yeah, this is a weird one. Now, I'm not sure if I've talked about this before, but I have footage of it, and I recorded a bunch of it, and I needed to release a video today, and this was the easiest one that I could think of. So, without further ado, let's get into the actual video. So, Ironsight. Does anyone know what this game is? I sure do, and I'm actually glad that it exists. Why? It's Call of Duty. No, seriously, guys, it's Call of Duty. Like, if you like Call of Duty, like, this is a good game. No, normally when I say this, and I've noticed this a lot with certain titles, is that when I have the paid version of a game versus the actual regular free version of the game, like, in comparison, the free version's always kind of worse. But somehow, with the recent Call of Duty, the recent way that Call of Duty's actually been going, it's much better to get Ironsight and just play it, because this is a true free-to-play experience. It's really something else. I mainly figured out about this through kind of like a website or through someone else's review, but I decided to put my own spin on it. And I've had about a few hours with the game, and if this is anything to go by, a lot of this actually is very interesting and cool. Now, I initially thought that when recording this, I came across a glitch that like just set my things in a weird way, but no, it's actually not. It's just that the classes that I had didn't do the whole expire thing. So I'm just not going to get into that right now. But what I am going to talk to you guys about is about the game, and the game's actually pretty good. So we're going to get into the actual meat and potatoes of the game and talk about the actual gameplay, what that's about. And essentially, it's Call of Duty, which if you've played any FPS game, like, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Most of this game is just kind of a rip-off of Call of Duty, but like in a nice way. It's very free to play, which means that it's very free to play, but it does have microtransactions, but the microtransactions do feel fair. Most of them are actually just purely cosmetic, and you can permanently buy them with like grinding and doing other stuff. Again, it does take time, and over the course of the thing, you can actually get those. I always felt that in the time that I've played, I've felt that it's actually very fair in the way that it works. And with some of the events and other things that are going on, it seems to be going for a different direction. Now, as you'll notice throughout this video, I'm actually just going to do a bunch of different gameplay loops that I have just on my computer. But overall, the gist of it is that there's a few different kinds of game modes. There's 2 respawn modes, and then there's 1 non-respawn mode. The 2 respawn modes are, of course, Team Deathmatch and Resource Gathering. Now, Team Deathmatch is straightforward. It's just Team Deathmatch, kill the other team, and that's actually one of the more fun aspects of the game. Now, the second one is Resource Gathering, which is essentially kind of like a mixture between Hardpoint in Call of Duty and that one game where kills equal money in Titanfall. I forgot what it was called. But it has different mechanics than both of them. It kind of combines the two, but loses certain mechanics. It's a PvPvE kind of game, where you're kind of versing other players as well as bots. The bots will drop these random resource things that you have to go and pick them up, kind of like Kill Confirm. I do believe there is a Kill Confirm mode in this, but I'm not too certain on if that's actually right. I believe there is, but I'm not sure. But the other game mode, which is the non-respawn mode, is the Search and Destroy one. This is probably the least implemented of all the game modes, in my own personal opinion. Some people might like it, and it's still actually getting a lot of views, but I personally don't think that that's the reason why this game is really good. The reason why this game is really good is because it's very big, fast-paced kind of thing. It's hugely fast-paced to the point of where you could be back within like 2 seconds in like an optimal time, especially in Team Deathmatch where you're dying and respawning constantly. Though it can get a bit too fast, and I did come into like a bunch of times when the game would lag and I would be stuck like sitting in the middle of something. More often than not, that didn't cause me to die because it like happened very sporadically. But again, it sometimes needed to process it really fast. But then again, it's running on moderate settings, so I'm not too certain if it's optimized too well or if my computer's just a little bit slower. But then again, I do have a very more high-end computer a very more high-end computer with a GeForce GTX 1060, so I'm not too certain what I'd have to do to kind of make that stop. Maybe it's just the servers. Again, it is an indie game, but for free, I didn't really expect too much, but I ended up having a lot of fun. The best part of the game is definitely with friends, especially if you can get a couple, like 1 or 2 other friends to play with you. That's definitely where this game kind of does shine. When you're getting your friends and you're kind of yelling at each other for whatever reason, but it's definitely not that. It's definitely not less fun alone. In fact, again, it might be just as fun in some people's opinion. In my own personal experience, it can vary depending on the game. The majority of the time, like, it's very skill-based in a lot of the shooting mechanics. So, how does this game work? Well, again, it's standard shooting mechanics. WASD to move, aim and click and point and stuff. F is to throw a grenade. Q is to throw a tactical grenade. 1, 2, 3 for all of your weapons and stuff. 4, 5, 6 for your kill streaks. And you could actually have 2 different kinds of kill streaks, where it's like assault and defensive and offensive, where like they stack and do other things. And it's actually fairly nice in the way that both of these things work. Again, I tend to go towards the more lower end of everything, and they're more like score streaks, not more like kill streaks, where they actually rely more on your score than on your actual kills. So you could just be killing the AI, or you could be versing someone else in team deathmatch, and again, it varies depending on the different things. There's also various missions that you can do with your buddies, with like AI people, and a tutorial mode to really get your handle on stuff. It doesn't push it, but it is recommended that you do it because it gives you some extra stuff to actually work towards. And again, it's fairly decent in the way it works. Again, it does do a lot of the free-to-play stuff where it gives you free loot and free daily rewards. And again, they're very fair with a lot of the daily rewards. Incrementing out certain rewards with how people play, and again, it just does it daily. And with some recent updates, they've actually started implementing more loot crates into the thing, more like free loot crates. Again, the looting system is very fair in my personal opinion, to where it doesn't push it to the point of nonsensicalness, but it doesn't like downgrade it in any way. Again, you can do this game completely free, like I have, and you can literally spend no money and still have a pretty good time. The shooting mechanics are very solid and extremely punchy. The time to kill is a little bit faster than some of the other recent Call of Duty games, but it feels that way, maybe because like I'm lagging a little bit, but it just feels like it moves a lot at a much faster pace. Again, it sometimes can move too fast, but it sometimes moves at that right pace you really want to get into. And again, keeping the pace up is definitely a really good option for this game. Now you can slow the pace down and do the search and destroy mode, which is fine. You can do that 100%. I'm not judging, but I personally think that that's the weakest mode of all the other modes, because it's definitely fun when you're playing in a high-octane brawl and type of stuff. So moving on to how guns and things you can get. There are 3 different kinds of currency. One that you actually have to buy, which I believe is the AP. I don't think you can earn that in game. The second mode, which is chips, which is a bunch more of the rarer kind of things, but it gives you a decent amount to start off with. And if you just play enough times and you get some of the lucky on some of the challenges, you can definitely get more. Again, some of the daily challenges will actually do that more. And again, you can just save up the chips, and they're not really necessary for the majority of the game, unless you want to get like the really expensive stuff, but that's going to take you some grinding. But there's also the third currency, which is the most common currency, which seems to be like these gold coin type things. These gold pieces, that I'm going to be calling them, I guess, is the most common, and they'll be awarded to you kind of like almost hand over foot, to where I have played this for only a few hours and I've accumulated over 5,000 of them. And that might seem like a lot, but that's going to basically net you some like assault rifles or other things, just to really start off with. When you initially start off, you'll actually get a ton more, especially if you complete like the tutorial, which I would definitely recommend. And again, over time, you will accumulate more of this and get some of the more rare stuff. And as you might notice in some of these gameplays, I have actually a skin, not on the gun, but on the hollow sight. Yeah, that's actually really cool. See, the amount of customization in this game is actually fairly interesting. You can customize the gun skin, you can customize the sight skin, and there's different variables for each. Again, you can always get all of these in loot boxes, but you can actually permanently get them. You can actually get them more permanently. The only way to really permanently get them, I think, is from loot boxes or by buying them at a more expensive price. But there are definitely repairable versions. These versions of the kinds of different guns and things are available either through loot boxes or just buying them out of the shop. And the thing is that once you get like a variant version, it'll give you the base version for like an extra bonus, which is nice. And again, like there's a leveling system, and where you can get certain things at certain levels, which is again a nice thing to get, and you can definitely get more stuff. But you can purchase most of the guns. You can purchase pretty much any of the guns just via doing like via the gold pieces, which is a nice touch. I really like that. You can also level up your guns, and the guns are really where you can actually start shining your stuff. Your guns start off at level 1, of course, and they mainly level up through various means of doing this, that, and the other thing. Different attachments work for different guns, but the only one that seems to be really universal is the holographic sight, which is, again, a really nice thing, especially if you get a cool skin for it. Like, you could show that thing off to pretty much everyone all the time, which is cool, which is nice. Now again, all the attachments aren't universal. Again, it just has certain different guns. It has primary guns and it has secondary guns, and people say that there's not any shotguns in the game. They're actually just in the secondary slot, which is, again, kind of interesting of a design mechanic from my perspective, but again, makes kind of total sense. They don't really have too much ammo, but they're more or less for, like, more close quarters combat. I know for a fact that a lot of these have actually saved my life. They have different lethals and tacticals, my personal favorite being the explosive knife. Why? Because it acts similarly to a sticky grenade, but it also like has the ability to hurt someone. So what you could definitely do is just throw this thing across. It doesn't really have that big of an arc, and it has like more of a straight line and beeline thing. The arc kind of happens off towards the end of it, which I really kind of like, which means that you can actually just throw it at a person and it'll stick to them. I know that this has, in some ways, actually saved my life, and it's really funny to just see the person like either run towards someone, and I actually did get a double kill one time with them being really close. Again, it's very cool. Again, that's my personal favorite, but there are sticky grenades, there are frag grenades, there are shotgun, there are tactical grenades and other sorts of things, and they all really work well together. There's even different ammo types, which kind of do different things. There's only 2 right now with hollow point and armor piercing that kind of like do what they set out to do, which is again a nice thing to do. Where you have to buy them every day if you really want them, but they're not necessarily there that you don't need. Maybe if you want to create a certain class that you would want them, but again, you don't technically need them. Anything else? Anything else that I see? Oh yeah. I think finally there's again character customization, where you can get a whole bunch of different character things for your stuff, which again is kind of pointless, but it's not really, because if you win you get to see your character in full, but you more or less get to see their gloves and stuff when you're actually playing. But again, that's, to be fair, it's a first-person shooter. Overall, I think this is a very good game. I do wish that they would add like what CSGO has, where you can inspect your weapon, which is really cool, because especially as they have like the little skins thing. And if they do that, that's awesome. But again, I'm not necessarily saying that they should. This game is very good at doing what it does. It definitely seems to have a good footing, and it is a very good free-to-play game. It's extremely well designed, tightly knit, with various amounts of people actually playing. And again, it's a kind of a roller coaster of like different kinds of people that play it, where some people who are casuals and then some people who are just downright tryhards. But again, you're gonna find a mixed bag of everyone, even on the same team. And I really think that that's a nice touch. And you can't get too good at it, because again, there could be other better players there, or you just could have a bad game. It relies a lot on player skill, and you could definitely have a different outcome of results, and you can definitely change those outcomes of a match, even in the worst of times. Again, it just really relies on player skill, and I really do like that. It kind of gets down to the nitty-gritty, boots-on-the-ground shooters. So, Should you get this game? Well, that's up to you. Personally, I really like this game. It's definitely one that I'm going to probably spend a lot more time in now that I've gotten back into it, but it's definitely one that I really think is 100% a solid game that can only go up from here. So, I'm going to link that in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this review of a game that I've played, and see you in Saturday's stream.